Welcome to the SpicyIP Podcast, the Summer School edition. Today, we have with us Dr. Kailash Nadh, sir. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
He's the CTO of one of India's largest fintech companies, Zerodha. He calls himself a hobbyist software developer. Why do you call yourself a hobbyist software developer? What is the intention of calling it as a hobby when it's such a big platform, like known all over?
I started tinkering with code. I started writing code when I was about 13 years old.
Right.
Very formative years, and I was addicted. I still am. I still write code every single day, and that's really my mental foundation. Building technology, experimenting with software, writing code. So I started doing all of that as a hobby from a very young age, and it also became morphed into a professional thing. But I think my mental foundation is that when I close my eyes and think of myself, I identify myself as a hobbyist coder. Yes, Zerodha is a commercial, large financial enterprise, and I write code at Zerodha on a daily basis practically, and I write code on free and open source projects that I maintain on a daily basis. So the lines blurred a very long time ago. It all largely is like a hobby to me. And I don't see myself as a business person or a techno business person. I see myself as a hobbyist coder.
Right, that's such a different way of thinking about it. So in our session that we just had, we were talking about how in the time of AI today, we could reimagine copyright in a very different way, and how the current system is probably not as, it's not achieving what it's meant to, but it's changing with how the world is changing with AI. So could you elaborate on how you would reimagine copyright in the world of AI?
Copyright is a rather new thing. It's a legal framework, and it's very human-centric. An author or a creator creates something, they hold copyright over it for X years, very slightly across jurisdictions. But fundamentally, it's a human-centric thing for things that humans created. Then it got expanded into covering different kinds of entities. A corporation or a legal entity can create something and they can hold copyright over it.
Right.
But its very genesis is basically that, individual, creator, and whatnot. Then legal entities. So when we speak of AI, which is machine intelligence, and I use the word intelligence very carefully, it's still ill-defined or undefined rather. Trying to force fit something that was created for humans and human creation into synthetic creation, where machine uses certain kinds of intelligence, whatever that may be, to create something. I mean, fundamentally sounds incompatible. If the whole thing was built for humans, how can you transpose that 1:1 to a machine framework?
Right.
So logically, it's that. Now we are all globally, it seems this is all being tried out right now. Nobody really knows where it goes. Societally, largely everybody seems to be attempting to force fit AI, this whole new paradigm, into existing and old frameworks. Might not work at all. We might have to rethink what copyright means. And copyright in itself is one thing which also has to, over a period of time, come to embody many things. It's to protect an individual. It's to protect a corporation. It's also a monopoly granted to an individual and a corporation. There's economic aspects to it. There's ethical aspects to it. There's all kinds of things, right? Everything under one large framework called copyright. And I think the rise of AI is now challenging the very notion of this one large umbrella concept. So it might have to split into many. So I don't think anybody really knows where it goes, but it's fundamentally incompatible, and its very foundation is being challenged by machine intelligence.
Right. Another thing that we spoke about in class was technology sovereignty and where India is heading to today in terms of acquiring technology. So could you elaborate on how you would want, or how you look at India going forward in terms of technology sovereignty?
So sovereignty is now, especially in the last 4 5 years of very volatile geopolitical conditions, software services being sanctioned, and certain countries being completely cut off from accessing software elsewhere, has really woken the world up to this idea of central software dependencies, technological dependencies, and suddenly everybody is open to the idea of sovereignty. Everybody is exploring it. Can every country, can every entity build all the technology they need from scratch in-house or within the country? That's not possible. The world doesn't, civilization doesn't work that way, right? So what does sovereignty really mean? It's not about having everything from scratch within. That's not it. In the geopolitical context, and there are many different contexts, I think sovereign is a very geopolitical word.
Right.
In the geopolitical context, it really comes down to self-sustenance, self-reliability, and the ability to run and maintain your technology without external intervention or external dependencies. That's largely the geopolitical sense. Let's say you use software to run governments, institutions, etc., and that's a subscription. That software is a subscription operated by a software company elsewhere in a different jurisdiction, different country, and suddenly that's cut off. The entire country is left hanging. So how do you prevent that? For that, you need to self-host. It's a very technical term. You need to self-host software. You don't have to build everything from scratch yourself because it's impossible. You need to be able to run and maintain the software on your own. And open source software, free and open source software, as a concept, it's been around for decades. As a model of building technology, large-scale decentralized innovation, where millions of people come together collaboratively build tech, has been a thing over the last 2+ decades of internet proliferation. And pretty much every tech company that is minted today, or every government that rolls out technology, heavily uses open source software within it. So if you take a large piece of open source software, which is built and given away over the internet by contributors from dozens, if not hundreds of countries, and this open source software built in such a manner is used in all contexts, that really brings in with it, with its tenets, the very idea of sovereignty. So in free and open source software, you are accorded certain freedoms. Generally, it's called 4 freedoms: the freedom to use, copy, modify, redistribute, and do whatever you like with it. It doesn't matter who created it. It doesn't matter how many people contributed. If it is a piece of free and open source software that comes with a certain license, you can take it and build whatever you want on top of it without worrying about any encumbrance, loyalty, etc. Nobody can cut you off. You have full freedom to run it within yourself. So, and that's the open source software is the model for software innovation in the world right now. Everything, the entire internet runs on free and open source software. Billions of phones and all our devices run on free and open source software. So in terms of tech sovereignty, if you adopt open source software, build your critical systems on top of it, irrespective of who's making it, irrespective of who's collaborating, you must also collaborate. That is largely a shortcut to attaining tech sovereignty. You get the best technology built by people across the world for yourself. You keep it, you use it. Like I said, you must also contribute back to improve it, because that's the very nature of open source software. And you attain self-sufficiency and tech sovereignty. Nobody can just cut you off. Even if somebody just cuts you off, you still have what you're running. You still have access to its source code. Then it's a matter of skills and ability. So in my view, 2 really critical recipes for tech sovereignty at a national level: open source as a philosophy and methodology, and tangible artifact software that you can use, and deep capacity engineering, research, and ecosystem to build and maintain those things and to contribute back. Because you can't just be a user who simply downloads and uses technology. So it's that the ability to, the skills and ability at a societal level and the use of open source is the most strategic way to attain tech self-sufficiency and sovereignty.
And when you said about contributing to the ecosystem as a whole, how do you think lawyers can play a role in the open source movement and in contributing to this ecosystem and also achieving this sovereignty and sustenance which we are looking at.
Ironically, paradoxically, open source software is all about freedoms,
Right.
distribution, replication, without encumbrances and royalties. And yet, it is the legal foundations of it is built on the legal foundations of copyright. There's a thing called
Right.
copyleft.
Right.
You use the copyright framework to assert these freedoms and via open source licenses and whatnot. So open source as a philosophy and methodology of development and sharing and collaboration is one thing, but its very basis is legal.
Right.
So there's no separating law and legality from open source. Intellectual property is a big component of this. Software patents, which I don't think should exist, they're
Right.
absurd. The very notion is absurd. Are a big part of this. Software patents, especially in India, you can't patent software per se, which is a good thing because when I was 13 years old, I was copy pasting code over dial-up internet, learning to build stuff, and I was building small little user interfaces, buttons, whatever I felt like building. I must have been violating a lot of software patents. If you draw a square button on a software UI, that's probably somebody's patent. If you add a click to it and something changes on the UI, that's somebody else's patent. The software is literally mathematical expression. And if you take the route of patenting all the things you can do with software, then nobody can innovate. Nobody can write 2 lines of code to do anything. The very notion is absurd. But it's also a matter of legality. So where can the legal community come in? Everywhere. Tech policy is a reality. Internet is increasingly regulated. Software is going to be increasingly regulated. AI is going to be regulated. Nobody really knows how. The policymakers and regulators may not really have the tech know-how. Technologists do not have the legal or policy know-how.
Right.
So the future of software technology and innovation is going to be increasingly legislative, has been my feeling. We're already seeing that. So it's absolutely critical for techies to get a basic legal and policy understanding. Absolutely critical for lawyers and the legal community to get a tech understanding. What is open source? Why open source? Not from the narrow lens of legal definitions and licenses and contracts, but from a holistic view.
Right. So basically, again, like the collaboration that you spoke of, and expanding it beyond just contracts and copyright to a much larger scale, where we also have interdisciplinary things coming in together.
100%. Contracts, legal documents, these are artifacts. These are artifacts that attempt to codify really complex societal things into a flat 2D thing, right? You can't capture all the stuff that happens at a civilizational scale into contracts and documents. We have technologically, especially in the age of, since the advent of internet, India has progressed technologically significantly using open source software. Our governments use open source software, Zerodha uses open source software, the entire tech ecosystem uses open source software. Imagine if there was strict and arbitrary software patent enforcement. Every single thing would be a patent infringement.
Right.
So can the reality of India's progress and the need for innovation, the nature of innovation, be captured into a contract? No. Which is why that deeper understanding is critical. It's existential.
And also there's so at this point of time, there's like a huge lot of scope in the field, right? Like at least for lawyers in the tech field and in the open source movement, there's a lot of potential for them at this point because there's so much more to explore than the traditional system of just limiting themselves to what is already existent.
Absolutely. I mean, with the advent of AI, large language models, I've been hearing that in the legal community, a lot of research work that people would do, junior lawyers would do, is now being done by AI. You feed in a PDF with 200 pages, you get a 5-line bullet point summary. We're seeing that in the tech world also. So it's not just that this is unexplored, and it has to be explored because the progress of society and civilization itself depends on having the right kind of tech regulations, frameworks, legal frameworks around it. It's also the fact that a lot of stuff is just going to be taken over by AI. So if you pay attention to these things, it also gives you an edge. I shouldn't really be saying it because it's not really about competing, but that's the reality. It gives you an edge if you are aware of these things. If you're aware of tech policy from a tech-centric view, if you understand open source innovation, its crux.
Right. Again, this brings me to one more thing that we were speaking about in class. So you said that software patent isn't something that should be in existence.
Shouldn't exist.
But like we also see how we're moving towards a space where more the patent applications, more patents equals more innovation, which is not really the right track, or which is not really the right transparent information that's put out. So what is your opinion on innovation while looking at software patents?
I think the number of patents being a proxy or an indicator for innovation is fundamentally wrong. That's like saying, that's like basing the innovation a company can do on the head count of people there, which is also done. Company X has 100 people. Company Y has 1,000 people. Maybe the larger company is innovative. It is innovation. So none of these things are proxies for innovation, not the number of people, not the lines of code that you have. Because by that metric, given two software projects that do similar things, one with more lines of code should have more innovation.
Right.
Paradoxically, counterintuitively, that's the other way around. The more you can achieve with the fewer lines of code, the better the engineering and innovation there. And I can cite Zerodha as an example. We handle close to, I think, some 20% of India's capital market volumes. You have 1.7 million customers, handle tens of thousands of transactions per second. We're 15 years old at this point. Our tech product team is 35 people. That's it. We self-host all software in-house using open source software. We don't have software vendors who build software for us in that sense. But if you look at some other players in the market who compete with us, they have very large tech teams, hundreds and hundreds of people, like 10x bigger than our team. If headcount was a proxy to software innovation, that feels right here in our. I can confidently say that we are pretty innovative.
Right.
So the moment you set a metric, some arbitrary metric without scientific or rational basis, as the proxy for progress anywhere, be it GDP, be it headcount in a people, be it the number of patents that are filed, the entire system will just be incentivized, geared towards increasing and attaining that metric. If you say that highest number of patents will give you some incentive, then companies will just start filing patents. You'll have entire legal departments whose job is to file patents.
Right.
I completely disagree with the fact that, with the idea that software patents are a proxy for innovation. In fact, I think it takes away and washes out innovation with arbitrary metrics, which people are then forced to chase.
Right. There were some great sets of insights and things that you gave out. Thank you so much. It was a lovely time having this conversation with you. And I'm sure people will be inspired by this and try and explore this area a little more, considering the amount of scope and unexplored area it is today. So thank you so much for coming, sir, and for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.